good evening, my beautiful kings and queens. I hope that this has been a beautiful day for you all. Just a quick question. How many of you remember your first love in terms of relationship or romantic relationship? Do you remember ever sitting down and the butterflies that you used to get when you would see the person or when the person called you, or just being in the person's presence and just having those intimate moments? How many of you remember that first love? Well, in my spirit, I'm hearing that the Lord is calling you back to be his first love. He's calling you back to spend those moments with him. You know, those times when you get up at 2 and 3 in the morning or 4 and you can't go back to sleep. Instead of turning on the TV to see what's on Netflix, when was the last time that you just decided that you are going to spend time with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords? I know that we are in a society now where everything is internet, everything is phone, everything is, what's next. But when was the last time that you returned back to your first love? Do you remember, like I said, the butterflies that you got when you saw your significant other coming? You couldn't stop smiling, your stomach was all tied in knots, and you just wanted to be in their presence. It's the same with the love of God that he pours out on us, because he is our first love. When was the last time you thought about when you first met God for yourself, when you first had that first encounter with God? Do you remember that you didn't want to come out of his presence because his presence was so sweet? His Holy Spirit was so sweet, and you would stay there, you would tarry, you would spend time in prayer, you would spend time in worship. And I know that with the busy life, with children, with work, with different things going on, sometimes we get out of that communion with him. We get out of having that relationship, that alone time, because life is so busy and life is truly very stressful. We have so much that we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. But your first love is calling you back. Your first love is desiring for that connection. In a time where we have so many books, we have so many religions, we have so many avenues to obtain enlightenment, we have so many avenues to obtain consciousness, or what we think is consciousness, it all goes back to the source. It all goes back to the King of Kings and to the Lord of Lords. You can know a whole book worth of knowledge, but unless you can come into contact with the source himself, unless you have a divine relationship with the source himself, you will be empty. You will be so empty inside, because there is a certain space inside of the human body, inside of the human mind, inside of the human soul that is meant to worship. There is a certain place inside of your heart that desires to be in connection with the source. And getting back to the source, he'll tell you his secrets. You remember when you had your first love and you guys would sit and have pillow talk? That's the same way that the Lord desires. He wants to have pillow talk with you. He wants to speak to your spirit. He wants to direct you. He wants to tell you your next. But how can he do that if you have lost a relationship with him? So in this season, go back to your first love. Do you remember what it was like when you first met him? He's calling you back into relationship with him. I'm not talking about religion.